Hi everyone, welcome to MathSux. This video is going to help you pass algebra. So today we're going to be seeing how to factor a trinomial x squared minus x minus 12. And by factoring, I mean that we're going to find the x values 4 different ways. So we're going to be looking at how to find the x values using the quadratic formula, the product sum method, completing the square, and by graphing. And each of these methods are going to lead to the same exact answer. So at the end, you can choose which one works best for you and choose your favorite factoring method. So let's start off. Let's begin. We're going to start with our first method, the quadratic formula. And we're going to be factoring x squared minus x minus 12. So the quadratic formula is really nice because it works for every quadratic equation every time. So because some of the factoring methods won't work every single time, but this one does. So we have our formula, which is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So it's kind of a crazy looking formula, but as long as we remember it, we have our equation, we can easily fill this in. So we fill this in by using our coefficients from here. So a is going to just be equal to 1 because there's really a little 1 here. B is equal to minus 1. There's really a 1 here, right? If you don't see a number, there's going to be a 1. So this is minus 1. And then C, we have a number. It's minus 12. So now we're just going to be filling in our formula with our coefficients. So x equals 1, right? Because negative b, negative 1 is just going to be 1, plus or minus radical b squared, negative 1 squared, minus 4a, which is 1, times c, which is negative 12, all over 2 times a, which is just 1. So there's a lot going on to calculate here, so let's just take this one step at a time. Let's start with everything under the radical first, so everything in here. So if you plug this into your calculator, you're gonna end up with a really nice number. It's gonna be 49. So now we have x equals 1 plus or minus radical 49 over 2. And radical 49 is a nice perfect square. It's 7. So now we have 1 plus or minus 7 over 2. So this is the part we can split our equation into 2 equations. That plus or minus means that this is x is equal to 1 plus 7 over 2, and it also means that x is equal to 1 minus 7 over 2. And now we just solve these separately. So x is equal to 8 over 2 is equal to 4. And then over here, x is 1 minus 7, that's negative 6 over 2 equals negative 3. And then these are going to be our x values. So from our quadratic formula, we found that x is equal to negative 3 and 4. So that's our first method, and it will work every time. Let's try our second method, the product sum method. So this can be called different things. I like to call the product sum method. That's how I learned it back in the day. So our product is equal to a times c, which if you remember from earlier, let's write out our coefficients again. So a is 1, b equals minus 1, and c equals negative 12. So I just got that from here again. So now to find our product, which is a times c, which is 1 times negative 12, which equals negative 12. And then our sum is just b, which is negative 1. So now comes the kind of guess and check part of this question. So we're going to need to find 2 numbers that multiply to negative 12 and add to negative 1. So to begin, I always like to find the numbers that multiply to negative 12. So this just involves listing them all out. So I'm just going to list them all out here. We have negative 2 and 6. We have 6 and negative 2, right? Because notice this can be negative. Oh wait, we have negative 6 or 2. Sorry about that. So notice we can have the negative here or the negative here because a negative times a positive is negative, and we have negative 12. So we can go either way, we don't know yet. What else do we have? We have 1 and negative 12. We have negative 12 and 1, 3 and negative 4, and 4 and negative 3. So we list all the things that can possibly multiply to negative 12. So now we have to ask ourselves which one of these pairs also adds to negative 1. So if you go down the list, you'll notice that only negative 4 and 3 add to negative 1. So now we know our pair, and we're going to rewrite our equation. So we're going to use our new numbers. So we have x plus 3 times x minus 4. We're going to set it equal to 0. Now, according to the factor theorem, you don't have to know exactly what that is, but it allows us to kind of make these like mini equations and set each equal to 0. Notice this is equal to 0. So we have x plus 3 equals 0, and we have x minus 4 equals 0. And just solve for x here in each little mini equation. And we have x equals negative 3, and then we have x equals 4. So we have our same answers that we got before, just using the product sum method. And if you're ever not confident in the numbers that you found, you can always, on the side of your paper, just, multiply these out, and you're going to get x squared minus x minus 12, if you want to check yourself. Now on to our third method, completing the square. So I'm going to go through this a little quickly here, but I have a video that goes more into detail about it if you want to see that. But we're still going to go over it. So we have x squared minus x, and the first step is we're going to move that whole number to the other side. So this becomes x squared minus x equals 12. Now we make room for new numbers that we're going to be adding on both sides of the equation. And we take our b here, we do b divided by 2 squared, and we're going to put that number into each box. So b is negative 1, right? That we're just using the coefficients. Negative 1 half squared is just 1/4. So that's what we end up putting in both these boxes. Next, we're going to rewrite this equation a little bit. So x squared minus x plus 1/4, we can combine these whole numbers. This is just going to be 12.25. And again, we can rewrite this into this little formula here, x plus b over 2 squared. So if this can become this, b over 2 we found was negative 1/2. So it's before we squared. So we have x minus 1/2 squared equals 12.25. And now we have something where we can solve for x. So in order to solve for x, we want to get rid of this squared. So we're just going to take the square root of both sides. And when completing the square, we actually do plus or minus radical 12.25. So this gets rid of our squared. So we have x minus 1/2 equals plus or minus radical 12.25. Comes to a nice number. It's 3.5. And now we're going to make two equations solving for x, because we have this plus or minus sign. So we have x minus 1/2 equals positive 3.5. And then we have x minus 1/2 equals negative 3.5. So just add 1/2 over on this side, and we have x equals 4. And then add 1/2 on this side, and we get x equals negative 3. So we have the same answers we've been getting, but with this new method, completing the square. Now for the last and possibly easiest method of all, I'm going to be graphing x squared minus x minus 12 into our calculator. So if you have a TI-83 plus or a TI-84, you can just turn this on, go to your y equals, plug this in, x squared minus x minus 12. And there's a couple of different ways you can see the same answer. So you can go to the graph button, and you can go second table, and you could see where the numbers line up. So see where y is equal to 0, that's going to be our answer. So In the table, we see negative 3 aligns with 0, so that's one of our answers. So x equals negative 3. And then scroll down, notice it's also 0 at 4, so x also equals 4. So another way you can do this is by looking at the graph and going second calc. And then if you go to the 0 button and you go enter, and then right enter, and then enter again, you'll see the same values, negative 3, 0, and then you could do the same thing for the 4. And that is how we get all the same answers. So choose the method that works best for you, and see you next time. Need more practice? Check out MathSux.org for more questions, link below. Also, don't forget to subscribe. Happy calculating!